Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and I want to show you something very cool. This is the ASUS Zenbook Duo for 2024, and as the name would suggest, we're getting more than one of something. So, looks like any ordinary Zenbook, but if I just detach the keyboard here and pop it over there, you will see that we in fact have two screens. Dual 14-inch OLED displays. This thing is incredible, and it actually might be the best thing I've seen all year so far. Although granted, we are only like a week and a half in. But look at it! So in one laptop, you get a dual screen setup with two 14-inch 120Hz 3K OLED touchscreens, which look absolutely incredible, I might add, and you can use it any which way you'd like. Vertically? Is that vertically? I'm not sure. Either way, like a book perhaps, handy if you're coding. You could pop out the kickstand back here, which actually supports up to 15 kilograms of weight, although I think you'd be hard pressed to really put that much weight on this. And with the keyboard here, perhaps you've got your sort of traditional laptop plus second external monitor above it. Except this is all-in-one 14-inch form factor, which I'm sure you'll agree is pretty damn nifty. And actually it weighs just under 3 pounds, so around 1.3 kilograms, and it's actually thinner and lighter and actually cheaper than the previous Zenbook Duo, starting, I believe, at a hair under $1,500. And while I've only had this for like a week or so, and this is just like a first impression hands-on video, not a full review, you can probably tell I liked this thing a lot. And together with this new detachable keyboard, which actually uses these pogo pins when it's connected, so there's no latency or battery limitations, and Bluetooth when detached, you don't have to hunch over your laptop anymore. You can take it off and use it however you like. And the backlit ErgoSense design and smooth touchpad are every bit as good as any other Zenbook keyboard I've used, something you can't say about most 2-in-1s. And they've also somehow squeezed in this little Bluetooth on-off switch and also a USB-C charging port if you regularly use it away from the laptop. Now, as you would expect for a 2024 model, this is backed up by some pretty impressive specs, including, as I almost drop it, the latest 14th gen Meteor Lake Intel processors. This guy can be spec'd with up to the Intel Core Ultra 9, let me get that right, but this one has the Core Ultra 7 155H, which of course also comes with the much improved Intel Arc graphics. And of course, this year is all about AI with both Intel and AMD, so we have a dedicated NPU or neural processing unit in here, which can offload some of those AI tasks. Now, to be fair, there are only a handful of AI use cases right now that you run locally on the device. One of the main ones is with the webcam. We've got this 1080p ASUS AI Sense webcam and some of those Windows Studio effects like your eyes looking at the camera and background blur, things like that, freeing up more of that CPU and GPU. But obviously it does make it a lot more future-proof. We are going to see a lot more AI integrated into apps locally as well, because there are benefits as opposed to cloud AI, but that's a conversation for another video. But with these much more powerful H-series Meteor Lake processors, which normally would be like a P-series in the past, now we've got H-series, along with 32 gigs of RAM, 2 terabytes of storage I've got in here. It's actually very powerful, especially with those Arc graphics, which we'll talk more about later on. So I'm recording this on the 1080p webcam at the top of the Zenbook Duo, quite a nice position, being on the top of the second screen, and I can also move around a little bit. It's going to track me. You can see I've got this portrait blur enabled as well. Both things are part of the Windows Studio effects, which right now are actually able to be offloaded to that new NPU. On the second screen below here, I've got the Intel AI boost. It's showing like 27% utilization. So it's offloading a little bit off the CPU and GPU and much more efficiently doing all these AI effects, which is one of the benefits of the new 14th gen chips. But yeah, the quality's okay, it seems. Again, this is non-final software, non-final hardware, but that's the webcam. Now, 5 years ago, 2018, when Harry married Meghan, we came fourth in the World Cup, disappointing as always, but also ASUS unveiled this Project Precog concept, their first dual-screen laptop, which was very exciting, but I remember thinking no one's going to want to use a virtual keyboard. Anyway, over the next 5 years, ASUS evolved the idea. With ScreenPad, we had the Zenbook and ROG Zephyrus Duos, and even last year, their fantastic Zenbook Fold OLED, which did also come with a Bluetooth keyboard that could be popped onto the lower half of the screen. And that's kind of evolved into this, the Zenbook Duo, something that actually works really well, is about half the price of the Fold, and I actually might go out and buy for myself. Now, to be fair, Lenovo did beat ASUS to market with their Yoga 9i, which launched early 2023 last year, but in my experience, this is a more refined experience. We also have the newer, better hardware, and it's also a good deal cheaper, actually. That started at like $2,000, this starts at about $1,500. Although very good to see competition. So why would you want something like this? Well, really it's for anyone who's ever sat in front of their laptop and thought, I wish I had a second screen right now. And of course you still have the option of connecting external monitors or TVs via the two Thunderbolt 4 or HDMI 2.1 ports. So you could have up to, what, 5 screens with this? It might turn a few heads if you do set this up in your local coffee shop or on the train, but half the time I've just been using this like a regular single screen laptop anyway. And except for being a tiny bit thicker, you wouldn't really know this is hiding a second screen. But then when you're at home or at the office, you have the benefit of the dual 14-inch screens, which also frees up a USB-C port, which otherwise you'd use for an external monitor. But given how low profile this whole setup is, being able to use the keyboard wherever you like, and also offering this 180-degree hinge, so even if you are using it on your lap or laptop stand, you have so much flexibility. So I've been using this, well, like a little bit over a week, I guess, over Christmas and New Year. I've showed it to a few people, probably shouldn't have because I signed an NDA, but you know, family, just to get their impressions, and they were all pretty blown away by it. And I've also found myself figuring out a new way of using it every day. Like I went on a Zoom call the other day and I had my video at the top, so the webcam's like nicer in my eye line compared to a regular laptop, but then my notes and emails and things on the bottom screen. Or using the top for my Premiere Pro timeline, bottom for the assets folder. You could game on one screen and have Discord or Spotify on the other. Or maybe with your finger or the ASUS Pen 2, you could use the bottom screen as your canvas and the top as your reference. You get the idea. And I have to say, overall build quality is top notch with this. The stand is really secure and sturdy. There is a little bit of screen wobble with the top screen, which is why I'd suggest if you are going to use the pen, perhaps the bottom screen, because actually that doesn't move at all. But overall, really nicely designed, no creaking or anything. It's properly well built. Nice and slim bezels. You've got the 1080p webcam up top here, which also has an IR sensor for your Windows Hello face unlocking. Power button here, which is actually above the screen. If I just take this off, above the screen on this like, what would you call it, bezel, a little bit of chassis that isn't screen, and also the usual range of ports on the side, HDMI 2.1, 3.5mm headphone jack, 2 Thunderbolt 4s, and a full-size USB-A. The only thing really missing, I guess, would be an SD card reader. That would have been nice. And they've also managed to pack in stereo speakers, which actually sound pretty good. Now, obviously, unlike last year's Fold 17 OLED, this obviously has bezels and a hinge in the middle, so you're not getting one continuous screen. But actually, this makes it much easier to use, particularly with Windows, which is always a bit of a pain in the arse when it comes to different form factors. But the benefit of this, having 2 distinct separate screens, is you can actually full screen things more easily. You can drag things, multitask, use the snap tool feature, and also you can use ASUS's own little software here to quickly switch your apps between the screens. Having 2 screens, like essentially an external monitor, is much better running in Windows. But it gets better. If you tap this little Screen Expert widget, you can manually adjust the brightness of each screen or keep them synced so they're the same, which I do. You can turn on the virtual keyboard, which I must admit does look very futuristic, although you can also switch it to a half screen, which leaves room for a handwriting space and a virtual ASUS dial, all of which of course can be customized, moved around, however you like it. You can also turn off the lower display if you're not using it to save battery. You can mirror the screens, literally, so if you have it laid flat and want to share it with someone across from you. And I think the best bit is being able to create a task group. So you can set up both screens however you like, with up to, well, I guess 8 apps on each, and then save it, so with the press of a button, you can instantly bring back your ideal work or, say, gaming setup. And as usual, you've got a whole bunch of options to play around with and customize, and it's also definitely worth checking out this My ASUS app, which gives you performance, display, and lots of other options for preventing burn-in. Which may all sound a little bit overwhelming, but you can use all these features as much or as little as you'd like. And at the end of the day, it can still just be a regular clamshell laptop. Now, I mentioned ASUS sent this out to me a couple of weeks ahead of CES, so I could make this little hands-on first look video for you, but it is just that. This is a pre-production model, so I can't actually test the performance or the battery life of this. I actually spent, I think, like a day and a half running a ton of benchmarks, comparing it to other laptops, and then they told me, no, this is actually tweaked for CES. The performance isn't quite there yet. It will be faster and perform better. So I will revisit that in a full review. Although I did test the new and similarly spec'd ASUS Zenbook 14 OLED the other week, also with 14th gen Meteor Lake processors, and the results from that show a smallish uptick for the processor, but a massive boost for the graphics, up to 2 or even 3 times faster in some cases, making it genuinely capable of 1080p gaming and some light 4K video editing. So I also can't test the battery life yet, although the good news is that despite having a slimmer chassis overall and also adding, a second full-size screen, this actually has the same size 75 watt-hour battery as the previous Zenbook Duo, and I think together with the new more efficient 14th gen chips, battery life should actually be pretty good, although of course it will depend if you're using it in single or dual screen mode. That's going to take up a fair bit more battery if you're using both screens at the same time. Although chances are when you're traveling, you might use it like this, but when you're at home or at the office, you'll probably have it plugged into the charger anyway when you're using the dual screen setup. So, first impressions. I absolutely love this thing. I definitely need more time with it and to properly test performance and battery life before I give a recommendation, but I can tell you now, it's going to be difficult to go back to any regular single screen laptop after getting used to this. I feel like everyone needs 2 screens, and as I say, I believe prices will start at around $1,500 thereabouts, but I'll leave more information about that and availability in a pinned comment below. And also check out ASUS's other big launches here at CES. We've got the Zenbook 14 OLED, also a new S13 OLED, 3 new VivoBooks in 14, 15, and 16-inch sizes. But what do you reckon? Could you be tempted by a dual screen laptop like this? Do you think they've finally nailed this form factor? A big thank you to ASUS for working with me on this video, and I'll see you guys next time right here on the Tech Chat.